So you just got an inheritance, which first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry, because that probably means that you lost somebody that's really important to you. Now you might be sitting on $10,000, $100,000, or even $1 million, and you're trying to figure out what to do with that. It might be a sum of money you've never seen before. You might not know what your best options are or if you're going to have to pay taxes on it. So this is going to be the most comprehensive video on exactly what you should do when you receive an inheritance. Now we're down here at the desk and I'm going to walk you through the most important things to think about first. Working as a financial planner, I've dealt with several estates actually, and all of the intricacies and how emotional it is to deal with all of a parent's financial assets, and if you're an executor, bringing that down to kids. And so what ends up happening is that once everything is done and you've been through the probate process and the house has been sold and the accounts have been transferred, everybody is pretty exhausted and really doesn't want to think about that. And what that does is it puts you in a very vulnerable state because you've received a big lump sum of money, more than you're used to handling. And now you have to figure out what to do with it when you're exhausted and you really don't want to deal with it anymore. The first thing I want to talk about is the mental game, because more than the taxes, more than the investing portion of this, that is going to be what is most important. The most important thing to do first is to give yourself time. The way to give yourself time is not by just letting it sit in a checking account necessarily. Find somewhere to put it that is interest-bearing, CDs, money markets, or a short-term bond fund if you're a more savvy investor. But don't try and force yourself to make quick decisions with this money. If you're not prepared to sit down and do your full due diligence process and make conscious decisions, then don't touch this money. And that doesn't just include investment decisions. That also means if you're planning on perhaps taking a big vacation with your family using this inheritance money, don't do that when you're in a vulnerable state, because it's a very high chance that you're going to end up spending a lot more money than you meant to and regretting it later on. So give yourself time. If that means a month, 3 months, 6 months, even a year, then take that time. It's going to be more valuable to be of sound mind when you're making decisions than to try and optimize as fast as humanly possible. And then once you have settled down and you feel like you're in a good mental state to make these decisions, step number 2 is to be aware of mental accounting. Money is what we call fungible. That means that if I have $1 in my pocket and you have $1 in your pocket, and I give you my $1 and you give me your $1, both dollars are exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you got your $1 from selling weed on the street, or if you got it from working at McDonald's, or if you own a business, or if you got an inheritance. $1 is $1. All dollars logically ought to be treated the same. But inheritance puts us in this really tricky mindset because you didn't earn that $100,000. It's almost like it's just free money. And so what ends up happening when you get these big lump sums of free money is you feel like you should go spend it on more frivolous things. Okay, like this is the Porsche money, this is the Rolex money, that vacation that I've been wanting to take money. And this is not to say you shouldn't do any of those things, but when you receive this money, you should treat it as if it were money that you had earned yourself through your own hard work, because that's what your parents or your grandparents or your aunt and uncle did, is they earned it through their hard work. If there are other parts of your financial plan that are still underfunded, like for instance retirement or your children's education, don't let that mental accounting of separating this inheritance into this fun money bucket, don't let that get in the way of you achieving your financial goals. Those are the 2 main things with the mental game, okay? Give yourself some time, and then make sure that you're treating this money as you would any other money, because money is the same whether it comes from an inheritance or your work. We want to use that money to achieve your goals and make sure that you are living the most fulfilled life that you can with the resources that you have. Mental game is done. You're in the best sound state of mind. You've got this money that you're going to put towards your financial plan and your goals. But the number one most important thing that you need to know right off the bat is that there could be tax consequences to receiving that inheritance. Most inheritance is tax-free. So I'll go through a list of examples of things that are tax-free. Real estate, okay, including a house, as long as it's sold soon after the death of the family member. Stocks and bonds in a regular account. So if it's in an IRA or 401k, it's going to potentially be different. But in a regular account, stocks and bonds, you sell them, you get the cash. That is a tax-free inheritance. Life insurance proceeds are also going to be tax-free. So if these are the kinds of inheritance money that you are receiving, you don't have to worry about paying any taxes unless the estate of that person is above the $15 to $30 million range. But even in that case, usually those estate taxes are paid before you ever get any money. So if you have cash and it came from these items, then you don't have to worry about taxes. But there are some other common items that you can receive that could have some serious tax consequences attached to them. Number one is going to be IRAs and 401ks. Okay, and that's going to include 403bs, 457 plans, 401a plans. Those are all going to be potentially significantly taxable. And then there's annuities. IRAs and 401ks, there are two kinds. There is a traditional pre-tax IRA and 401k, and there's a Roth IRA and Roth 401k. And it should be pretty clear if you have a statement from one of those accounts which one it is. When you inherit a retirement account, like an IRA or a 401k, you don't actually inherit cash directly. You're actually going to usually roll that over into an IRA, an inherited IRA in your own name. That jumps into a new level of complexity, but the basics of it is anytime you pull money out, it's going to be taxed as if it were income. So as if you had earned it in a job. You have to pull out the full amount within 10 years. You have to pull out a certain amount every year called a required minimum distribution. That is usually 5 to 10% of the value of the account for an inherited required minimum distribution. Those are the basics, but it does go more into the weeds, and you'll want to do your research if you inherit an IRA. Annuities are interesting because if you put $100,000 into a new annuity and then it grows to $200,000, that extra $100,000 is going to be taxable to you as a gain. Usually, when somebody passes away, it's not like a 401k where you can hold on to it for those 10 years and distribute it out little bit by little bit. Annuities are usually going to come to you in a lump sum, and so you're going to need to make sure that either they withhold taxes from it or you hold on to enough to pay taxes at the end of the year, because there can be some pretty serious tax consequences there. Now you know, if you received an IRA or 401k or you have some kind of an annuity, make sure that you know what the tax consequences of that are going to be. More than likely, there will be tax consequences. But if you're just receiving proceeds from real estate, stocks, life insurance, you don't have to worry about it unless it's a $15 to $30+ million estate. And even then, usually the taxes are paid before they come to you. Finally, you've gotten this money, you're in the right state of mind, you've paid your taxes on it or set aside money to pay taxes. Now, what should you actually do with this money? There are some important things that you should probably do. Going back to that mental accounting, remember, the goal of money is to help us live a more fulfilled and satisfied life. So what we're going to do is come and we're going to make a list of financial goals. These can be things like retirement. They can be things like an inheritance for your kids. It might be paying for college for your kids. It might be philanthropy, giving it away. Once you have sat down maybe with your partner and decided, hey, here are my goals in life that need money to fund them, then we're going to figure out how well funded are these goals already. Okay, let's say my retirement, I'm saving 15% per year and I have a really good balance and I feel like that's doing well. Paying for college, I already have 529 plans set up and those are fully funded. There's not going to be any shortfall there. But let's say, okay, I want to make sure I leave an inheritance for my kids because I know I have enough for my retirement, but I'm not sure I'm going to have any left over. Now, if you're probably in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and it's your parents who have passed away, you probably have at least a 20 or 30 year timeline to reach that inheritance goal. And so if this money is going to be going towards an inheritance, we might choose riskier assets like leveraged real estate or stocks so that we can get more appreciation over that long period of time that we have in front of us. But this is a big area where it can get pretty complicated on what exactly to do with the money to reach those goals. And if you're not confident in your ability to invest, or if this is just a larger sum of money than you're comfortable with doing on your own, this could be a good time to talk with a financial planner. So now you know the basics of what you need to do when you receive an inheritance. And if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you need somebody to help you along this path as you manage your financial life, then give me a call. I'll leave my contact information down in the description. This is exactly the kind of thing I deal with every day in my work as a financial planner. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and gave a like to the video.